Now, in a break with history, the United States has allowed a controversial resolution to pass in the United Nations, a resolution that condemns Israeli settlements in disputed territory. KCAL9 political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with more on the resolution and the backroom wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, there was plenty of maneuvering going on behind the scenes, that's for sure. The U.S. vote to abstain on the Israeli settlement resolution rather than veto it has exposed deep divisions between the incoming Trump administration and the outgoing Obama administration. Divisions which we know are there, but which are rarely demonstrated so openly for everyone to see just weeks before a change in leadership. Applause erupted in the usually staid United Nations Security Council, reflecting the drama of what just happened. The passage of a historic resolution condemning Israeli settlement construction in the occupied West Bank and Jerusalem. 14 Security Council members voted for the resolution, but the U.S., which had protected Israel by vetoing more than 30 UN resolutions like this in the past, this time abstained.
Abstenciones.
Abstentions.
The hand of the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations went up.
Our vote today does not in any way diminish the United States' steadfast and unparalleled commitment to the security of Israel.
With this abstention vote in defiance of Israel, the president-elect, and even some members of the president's own party, Mr. Obama allowed the resolution to pass, an historic moment filled with controversy.
Settlements have no legal validity. The United States has been sending the message that the settlements must stop privately and publicly for nearly 5 decades.
The chill between President Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has continued for years, due in part to the continuation of settlement construction in the disputed territory. Netanyahu's office called the UN vote shameful and charged the U.S. failed to protect Israel. In fact, when Netanyahu found out the U.S. would not veto the resolution, he urged President-elect Donald Trump to intervene, and he did, tweeting, "The resolution being considered at the United Nations Security Council regarding Israel should be vetoed," taking direct aim at the Obama administration. In fact, CBS News reports Trump called Egypt's president, who temporarily delayed the vote. President Obama has criticized the settlements as an obstacle to a peace agreement in the region, and this time he decided not to block the resolution with a veto. Israel's ambassador argued the resolution will make it even more difficult to get a peace agreement.
The sad truth is that today's vote will be a victory for terror. It will be a victory for hatred and violence. By voting yes in favor of this resolution, you have in fact voted no. You voted no to negotiations.
President-elect Trump tweeted, "As to the UN, things will be different after January 20th. In the meantime, the active engagement of Trump, while his predecessor is still calling the shots, is raising questions about the notion that there's only one president at a time. And some observers see this as a parting shot from President Obama aimed at President-elect Trump, whose spokesman says he won't be standing on the sidelines before he takes office.
President Obama and his team have been unbelievably gracious to the president-elect and his team, but at the end of the day, he's not someone that's going to sit back and wait.
So in any case, President-elect Trump's tweets and his choice of a new ambassador to Israel make it clear there will be some dramatic changes coming soon in America's relationship with Israel and with the Palestinians. And for that matter, Trump has suggested there could be big changes coming in the relationship with the United Nations as well. And Lena, all that is about 4 weeks away.
Yeah, no, what's the reaction from the Jewish community today?
It's interesting, not as one-sided, as you might think. The reaction has actually been mixed, as it has been for a long time on the Israeli settlements in disputed territory. Traditional organizations like the World Jewish Congress denounced the UN vote, charging it would not move the region any closer to peace, and criticizing the U.S. abstention from Israel's greatest ally rather than vetoing it. But some of the more liberal Jewish organizations like J Street, which is based in Washington, applauded the vote, pointing out that the continuing construction of Jewish settlements in disputed territory has clearly stifled any hopes for peace in the region. Lena?